Hi, this is Jimmy Sturr. Welcome to our weekly get-together. What could be better than a glass of wine and a beautiful fire? The only thing that could add to that is if it was the holiday season. It happens to be my favorite time of the season. And what a wonderful time it is, especially in my hometown of Florida, New York, growing up. You know, back then, everybody had snowmobiles. You didn't need a license. You could drive right there on the main street. You could pull up to the local tavern, and everybody did. Every night there'd be 10 or 15 snowmobiles in front of all the taverns. We'd all go in, and back then, the jukebox would be going all night long. And it had 90% polka music. So it was really an exciting time. And on top of that, our tallest building, 2.5 stories maybe, had a big speaker on the top of the roof. And it played Christmas music all throughout Main Street. What an exciting time of the year that was. And the reason I bring that up is because not only is it my favorite time of the year, but also one of my favorite times is our Christmas show. And back then, we thought about it. We thought, why don't we start doing a Christmas show? And that's exactly what we did. We thought, where should we go the first time? Carnegie Hall. What could possibly beat Carnegie Hall? And that's exactly what we did. We went on our first show, which happened to be in the middle of the 80s. We went, and we always had on all of our shows, we always had a special guest. For the first few years, we had Myron Florin from the Lawrence Welk television show. Well, that first night at Carnegie Hall was an exciting night. We were completely sold out. Outside, it was so exciting to see buses from all over the place. They were there from Jersey, Long Island, from Pennsylvania, Connecticut. They were there from Massachusetts. They were there from all over. And it was a complete sellout. So just before we went on, one of our road people came back and said, there's a man that's in the audience, and he said he'd love to meet you. He's a huge fan of yours. And he said he'd like to meet you after the show. And oh, by the way, he said he used to play with the New York Yankees. I said, yeah, go out and find out what his name is. So just before the show, he came back and he told me his name. So I thought, incredible. This guy, when I was in high school, I played a lot of sports, mainly baseball. This guy just happened to be my idol. I was left-handed. I was a left-handed pitcher, and so was this guy, and he was a true New York Yankee. His name was Eddie Lopatinsky. I'll tell you more about him a little bit later on. So then the show goes on, and I introduce, speaking of idols, another one of my idols happened to be in the audience. I introduced him. He got a standing ovation. The place went wild. His name was Frank Wodorowski. I'm sure if you're a polka fan, you remember the name of Frank Wodorowski. It was exciting. After the show, I go backstage, and this man comes back. Eddie Lopatinsky met me. I was so excited. I got to meet him. He gave me his telephone number because he was a big hunter, a pheasant hunter. And my dad was a big pheasant hunter. And if you were watching our show a couple weeks ago, I mentioned to you about when my dad was about 14 years old, Babe Ruth shot him right in the hand. And this is at the same pheasant club that my dad became president of. And this man came up all the time. He probably got to be better friends with my father than he did me. And if you were a Yankee fan, you might remember the name because he was a superstar. He was a left-handed pitcher for the New York Yankees in the 1950s. His name, he went under Eddie Lopat. What a great man he was. But also, in the audience that night, speaking of baseball, was another one of my friends. And we had stayed together the night before. And after the show, we walked together across Manhattan to our hotel room. And he said to me, he said, I want to tell you, he said, of course, I'm here for your Christmas show. But I'm also here for another reason. Now, this show was on a Sunday night. He said, tomorrow morning, I sign with the New York Yankees. And his name was Phil Necro. What a great time. It was a wonderful evening. Then we decided, well, you know, all these people come to New York City. Why don't we start going out to see them? And that's exactly what we did. The very first year, after we went and booked 4 different locations. We went to Massachusetts, New York, we went to New Jersey, and out to Pennsylvania. And we had Christmas shows. They were all complete sellouts. Myron happened to be the special guests on all of these shows. And then we got going and we thought, man, this is great. So what we did then, we went out, eventually we were holding 12 different shows around the Northeast on our Christmas show. We went from the East, Springfield, Massachusetts, all the way west to Cleveland, Ohio. And I remember on one show, one tour that we went on, it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On a Friday night, we were playing Carnegie Hall in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The next night, we were going Saturday, we were going into the Convention Hall in Cleveland, Ohio. Then on Sunday, we're on our way to play Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania at the Kirby Center. So we get into into Pittsburgh, and it's so cold. It begins to snow. We get out, we stay overnight, we get up the next morning, snowing like crazy. We get into Pittsburgh, and I'll never forget, I just happened to look at the sign. There was a bank right there, and it said on this Saturday afternoon, 27 below zero. That night we went and did the show, and we, at that time, toured with 2 buses and a truck, a big truck. Show was over, and we started going because we had to go all the way to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania that night. And the 2 buses pull out right behind us, the big truck. It hits the curb, blows a tire. And by this time, and it was past midnight, they had to stop, change the tire, and they met us the next morning in, actually we stayed in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. It was a great time. We had going to Clearfield, but then we went on in and we sold out in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Then another week, the following week, actually we had Boots Randolph. He happened to be our guest. And also a young lady named Kathy Rocco. And you might remember the name Kathy Rocco with the Rocco sisters, who have recorded with our band. They did Papa Won't You Dance With Me, Metropole Polka, and so many more. So Kathy and Boots both were on our show. And one of my all-time favorite places to play throughout my whole time of playing happened to be a place called Symphony Hall in Springfield, Massachusetts. Never forget that night. Speaking of snow, just before our show started, it started to snow, and it snowed heavy. By the time our show was over, it was at least 6 inches of snow. Now, Boots, Kathy, and Kathy's husband, Joe D'Onofrio, we're all staying over that night. The band was going back home, but we stayed in a nice hotel in Springfield, Massachusetts, and we had plans to go right afterwards to this German restaurant. We get to the German restaurant, Boots, Kathy, Joe, and all of us, and of course owned by a German man. And there were a lot of people that were at the show, and they recognized us. So Kathy got up, and she sang for everybody, including the owner, sang Silent Night. The second time through, she sang it in German. The German owner went ecstatic. He said, "Dinner is on me." I thought that was a great ending for that show. What a great time we had. And we still do our Christmas shows to this day. We do them now at the Paramount Theater in Middletown, New York. And we always do the first weekend, a Saturday, we always do our Christmas show. But over the years, we've had so many great guests on. I mentioned about, of course, Boots. We had Bill Anderson. We had, you'll remember the Jordanaires. The Jordanaires toured with our band, did many recordings. Of course, they were popular because they were Elvis Presley's backup group. You might remember a guy named Al Martino. He was Johnny Fontaine. Remember him in The Godfather? But he also had a bunch of hits. He did Spanish Eyes, and he did so many more. Plus, we had, you go back in time, the Four Aces, the Four Lads. We had guests like, we had Larry Chance and the Earls. We had Jay and the Americans. We had the Duprees, and we had so many more. We had some exciting times. And that's why I enjoy doing the Christmas shows so much. In fact, I want to invite you to be part of it this coming December. It's a ways away, but if you make plans, the first Saturday in December will be at the Paramount Theater.
Merry Christmas from the historic Paramount Theater in Middletown, New York. It's time for the Jimmy Sturr Christmas Extravaganza, featuring from NBC's Voice, Jermaine Paul. Irish American's favorite son, Andy Cooney, the Jimmy Sturr Singers, and the Matinee Lane Holiday Review. My name is Keith Strauss. Ho, 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 and away we go!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. Merry Christmas. There's a white Christmas in my hometown, where the streets are snowy, shining bright, and the lights on all the Christmas trees are burning, for old Santa's sure to come this very night. There are jingle bells and Christmas carols singing by the children who are walking in the streets. Folks are smiling and they're saying Merry Christmas, for the joy in their hearts when they meet. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10, listening once again for candy canes and silver lanes aglow.
The kids are upstairs in their beds tucked away, dreaming of Santa and the toys in his sleigh. The fire is so warm and the company too. It's time to enjoy, but these times they are few. And we'll sit by the fire, here's out to us all. There are songs to be sung and tales to be told. Out comes the melodeon that's foot taps the floor, and together we'll dance to the old Christmas waltz.
The snowman is a jolly happy soul, with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of gold. Frosty the snowman is a fairy tale they say. It was made of snow, but the children know how it came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that lonesome camping ground, for when they fixed it on his neck, he began to dance around.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, your troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, your troubles will be miles away.
The weather outside is frightful, but that fire is so delightful. Since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, but I brought some corn for popping. The lights I turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the town, St. Joseph was searching, walking up roads and down. Our Lady was waiting, so meek and so mild, while Joseph was seeking a place for the child. While the children were nestled, each snug in their beds, and the grown-ups wouldn't bother. There's no room, they said. When even the innkeeper sent them away, Joseph was wondering, where would they stay? You know, he thought of the cave in the side of the hill. Let's go there, said Mary. It's silent and still. While the moon on the breast of the new fallen snow made a pathway of light for their tired feet to go. And there in the cave, on the cradle of hay, the Savior was born on that first Christmas day.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.